Hello, everybody, and we are live. It is The View from the Top. It is May the 28th, and we have got an amazing show lined up for you today. We are so excited. We're going to be talking about how you make global mobility strategic. We're talking about beyond operational, how you build out your strategic global mobility vision. This is going to be a really interesting conversation. We're really looking forward to it. And to lead that conversation, I'm really excited that we have Laura Young, Global Mobility Head at Salesforce. She's backstage and she's going to be talking to us all about how you build out your mobility strategy. So all very exciting, but you know how it works. Everybody join in the conversation, write in the comments box. Tell us who you are, where you are, what's going on in your world. We want to know where you are, what you're doing, what's rocking your boat at the moment. So we are live and on YouTube, we are live on LinkedIn, and we are also available as a podcast on Spotify. So wherever you want to see us, wherever you want to hear us, you can absolutely do so. We also offer you your CPE codes. You can get CPE codes from ERC, from SHRM, and from HRCI. So I'll put those up there. If you want your CPE credits, many thanks to our good friends at Rocket Mortgage for the HRCI and the SHRM codes. And many thanks to our good friends at Worldwide ERC for the GMS and CRP codes. So they're up there. We're leaving those up there for a moment or two. What else? Well, next week, we've got a really important show on mentorship. Let's face it, we've got lots of people coming into our industry. How can we help build the global mobility professionals of the next generation? Well, our good friends at ERC have launched a mentorship program, and we've got people from all over the world who are going to be helping ERC build out that mentorship program. And I'm so excited that we're going to be joined next week by two of the people who are leading the ERC mentorship initiative, David Toledo and Jennifer Rodriguez. And they are going to be next week telling us all about how the ERC mentorship program works. As I understand it, probably close to 20 people are already involved as committee leads, as chairs, as really building out this mentorship program. And the aim is to get, I don't know, a couple of hundred people involved. It's going to be fantastic. So if you're ever interested in mentorship, either as a mentor or a mentee, do make sure you tune in next week as we talk about mentorship that matters. So really important subject there. What's been going on in the wonderful world of global mobility over the last 7 days? Well, let's have a look. Let's run the video and see what's been going on in our wonderful world of global mobility. So there we have it. Lots of people have been promoted this week. Congratulations to all of you. Lots of people have got new jobs. Again, congratulations to all of you. And indeed, there's lots of jobs out there. So if you're looking for a job, there's loads of job opportunities. Do check them out. If you've got a job opportunity you want to share with the industry, again, let us know. We'll do what we can to promote it. And indeed, if you've got a bit of personal news you want to share, maybe you've been promoted or you've got a new job and you want to tell the mobility world all about it, again, let us know and we'll do what we can to help give you some of that oxygen, that publicity oxygen that, helps tell the world exactly what you're doing. We're now going to move on. We've got a really, really important immigration update about the US. So if you're interested in US inbound immigration, then stay tuned, because I'm really excited. We've got Rahul Soni from Fragaman backstage, and he's going to be telling us all about some of the very exciting latest changes. So everybody, you know how it works. Please hit the heart button, hit the like button, hit the applause button, and let's welcome to our stage Fragaman's Rahul Soni. Hey Rahul, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Brian.
I've said you've got some news to share. So tell us, I know you haven't got a lot of time to talk about it. So tell us what's going on. Tell us a bit about inbound immigration and some of the changes that people are talking about at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely, Brian. So there's so much going on with United States immigration. As we all know, we see it all over the news every day under the current political administration. One of the things I wanted to sort of shed some light on today, and one of the things that my team in New York specializes in, is investment-based immigration in the United States. I think it's no secret that the Trump administration has made several announcements in
gold cards. We've all heard about gold cards.
The gold card proposal, which I'm going to sort of give my thoughts on in a second. But in contrast to that, the current investment-based program that's available in the United States, as we know, is the EB-5 green card program, where individuals can apply for permanent residency for themselves and their immediate relatives, so spouse and minor children, to obtain permanent residency by making a capital investment in the United States. The quickest way to do it at the moment is to invest $800,000 US into what's called an EB-5 regional center, which is an entity in the United States that's set up to funnel foreign investors' funds into generally pre-approved government programs that create jobs through construction or technology projects. And by creating jobs, those individual investors are able to apply for permanent residency. Just after COVID, the government sort of revamped the EB-5 program. They introduced something called the EB-5 Reform and Integrity Act. And that act, embedded into legislation by Congress, allows for individuals to get very quick green cards in certain specific EB-5 regional center projects. And our team is sort of the specialists in helping individuals to find these specific projects so that they can get green cards issued very quickly, in many cases in 10 to 12 months. So in the grand scheme of green card issuance, that's lightning quick. Now we're all seeing lots of announcements by the Trump administration saying they want to change or terminate the EB-5 program. They want to introduce the gold card scheme instead. It's important for us to know that the current EB-5 program has been approved by Congress. In order for it to be terminated or even amended, it would need to be re-legislated by Congress. And if the gold card proposal does come into play, that is also likely to need congressional approval before it actually comes into effect. So just something to bear in mind. The gold card proposal is, by what the Trump administration has announced, would be a $5 million donation into the US government to obtain an expedited route to citizenship. It'll be interesting to see if that actually pans out in the way it's sort of been announced. But in contrast to the current EB-5 program, obviously with EB-5, it's an investment into a regional center, and investors will typically get their money back at the end of the process, versus the gold card scheme is sort of marketed at an outright donation to the US government.
So it's an £800,000 investment, which you might get your money back, or indeed make money on it, compared to a $5 million donation. So it's a big difference. Yeah,
big difference in terms of expenditure and what you get in return. The goal of EB-5 is for investors to receive their funds back, usually with some return on the capital, although it's relatively nominal. But the main goal is get the money back and get the green cards approved for the family. Brian, I would want to also add something that's really interesting. A trend that we're seeing with EB5 is that specifically for India-born and China-born nationals who in the United States under many green card avenues would be subject to very long backlogs to obtain permanent residency, if they're strategic with EB5, can get green cards issued without any backlogs at all, typically in about a year under current processing time. So we're seeing a huge spike of India-born and China-born nationals availing the EB5 program because of how attractive it is for those individuals and their families to get permanent residency quickly versus waiting maybe over a decade in other green card categories for those to be issued.
Okay. So in the interest of time, I suppose the other thing that I might just quickly ask you about is I'm seeing lots of stuff in the news about student visas. Can you give us like 50 seconds on that?
Yeah, I'll give you a quick one on this one. So student visas are a very hot topic for the current administration. We're seeing a massive trend in F1 student visas being revoked, or their student visa status, which is called CVIS, being terminated by the US government. There's a big example that's in the media at the moment, which is Harvard University, where their entire ability to register international students as full-time F1 students has been completely revoked. They've filed a lawsuit in federal court to challenge the administration's decision on this. So it will be really interesting to see how this pans out, but it is sort of very precarious for F1 students at the moment. So, you know, not only are we seeing these records terminated, but we're also seeing lots of issues at the border when individuals enter, and they're getting a lot of scrutiny from Customs and Border Protection officers. So, of course, as an international law firm, we're always here to help, but it is quite a precarious situation in that arena at the moment.
Okay, Rahul, thank you so much. You've covered so much in such a short period of time. Really, really appreciate you being on the show. We're now going to move on. We've got our change maker for the week, Vijay Mandani from RBC. So everybody, you know how it works. Hit the heart button, hit the like button, hit the applause button. Let's say a big, big thank you to Fragments Rahul Soni, and welcome to our stage, Vijay Mandani. Hey, Vijay, welcome to the
Brian.
show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure being here.
And you're based in Toronto. I see we've got some people from Toronto in the audience too. So shout out to everybody in Toronto. So Vijay, just tell us a bit about yourself. Tell us, how did you get into mobility?
Well, for me, so firstly, thank you so much for having me on the show, Brian. It's a pleasure to be here. I've been in the space of mobility for about 15 years now. I can't see how the time flew. I got into mobility, I must say, by accident. I have always been in the space of HR, and when 15 years ago, when there was an advert for a mobility manager within the organization I was actually working for, well, I didn't even know what I was signing up for, but then I knew that that's something that is going to have a lot of impact in terms of how we are going to move our people, and that's all I knew about it. So did some research about it, attended the interview, probably the zeal that I would have demonstrated during the interview and the passion that I wanted to be in the space, one, and two, a bit of a homework to understand what the area is all about got me in. So that's how my journey started.
Yeah, and the industry is amazing. It's just wonderful to have you in the industry. I mean, obviously you're with a very prestigious company, RBC, Royal Bank of Canada. But I know one of the things that you particularly love about being a change maker Well, you call it the 3 Cs about being a change maker. And the change maker, for those people who don't know, is our community of, I think we're up to about just under 200 people now, and more are always welcome. People who have got a passion for technology, who want to change mobility for the better. And tell me, you called it the 3 Cs of the change makers. Tell us your take on the change maker program.
Absolutely. I call it these 3 Cs of a Changemaker program because I think this is really instrumental for the leaders across the industry, the mobility leaders, to come together. The 3 Cs that I was coining in was collaborate, content share, and calibrate.
Collaborate, content share, and collaborate and calibrate. Yeah, those are exactly 3 Cs. Love it. Absolutely love it. Yeah.
Right.
What does that mean in practice?
Absolutely. So I think the network of change makers allow the best minds in the industry to collaborate and basically ideate on some of the best things to be done to make and move mobility industry forward in an optimal way. When I speak about content share, I'm talking about, look, mobility is not an area that anybody can claim that they know everything in. It's a vast domain. So change makers network definitely provides a platform for people to share the content that they are aware of, that they have gotten to know, thereby enhancing the know-how across, right? So that's on the content share part of it. And speak about calibrate, I was referring to the best practices. Let's compare and examine the practices that I have versus you have as a change maker and see what is the best way to move forward. Given the ever-growing, ever-changing regulatory landscape, I think change makers is only going to go miles in ensuring that we are navigating the landscape carefully. So those are my 3 Cs on that. Brian, thank you.
I love it. So you're getting a lot out of being a change maker. It's helpful for you. But also we support any charity that our change makers individually choose. And tell us about your chosen charity.
Yes. So I have made a choice to support the Talent Beyond Boundaries exclusively for the support that they provide for making skilled path migration for refugees possible. Imagine the people who are displaced, the support that they need, right? So while it's one thing that the Talent Beyond Boundaries do in connecting employers with the skilled refugees and immigrants, it's another thing to advocate the work that they are doing to make sure the skilled pathway is made possible, skilled migration pathway, rather, I should put it that way, made possible for the refugees. And it's for the listeners. The strides that the Talent Beyond Boundaries have been making is that roughly we have been able to create advocacy with almost 7 governments to take steps to make sure that there are programs to support refugees. So tremendous impact, tremendous outreach, and I think to the core of everything is basically, there is dignity for the people who are being displaced from across the world. So that's the reason I thought this is a charity I should be supporting personally.
And I know it's something you're very, very interested in. We're running out of time, I'm afraid, but it's a subject that you're very interested in is program optimization. And what I'd like to suggest, Vijay, is if you're up for it, we'll try and get you back another week to talk a lot about and maybe do a show on program optimization, because I know, just tell us very quickly, but I think it's a big passion of yours, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think program optimization within the area of mobility is really, really important. We speak about the strategic alignment with the business goals, talk about the cost and the return on investment, compliance and risk management, and above all, the employee experience, all made possible through processes, standard controls, automation where possible and required, data analysis, storytelling, and so on. It's a big area to kind of focus on, especially when we are speaking about technology-enabled services, even within the area of mobility. So I'll be glad to come back to talk in detail about that, Brian.
It's a day. We're now going to move on. Our next guest is Benevo's Beth Nielsen, who's going to be talking about some of the latest things that are happening in Benevo land. So she'll talk about that. And then after that, we've got the amazing Laura Young from Salesforce talking us about mobility strategy and how we move beyond the operational. So everybody, you know how it works. Let's say a big thank you to VJ and a big welcome to Beth in the time-honored fashion. Everybody, hit the heart button, hit the like button, and hit the applause button. Beth, welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Brian. It feels like forever since I've been on. It's good to see you.
Always good to see you. So tell me, Beth, what are we talking about today?
Just a few quick updates. One, the client advisory team have been super busy here at Benevo, and they've rolled out 2 benchmarks recently. So they're all available for free to download on our website. So that's benevo.com. There's the VIP Moves benchmark and one on Indian tech as well. So really excited to hear what people think of those. If you've got any questions,
VIP Moves and Indian tech. So if you're interested in those, they are available for download. I'm sure we'll put up a link in a moment.
Yeah, I think Tally's on it. Of course she is. And then the other thing is that there's the opportunity to see the Benevo team live in action. They're going to be, Nitz and Matt are going to be over at GME in Jersey City on the Hudson on June 17th. So I hope that lots of you are going to be there. There's going to be 2 exciting opportunities. The first one I'm so thrilled about. They're doing a breakout session with Morgan Kelly from Cox Automotive on AI agents and the move from lump sum to managed budgets. Something that, Tally and I have been espousing for a while.
You don't know. Okay, so tell us what an AI agent is, because they are super cool.
Of course. So an AI agent is a computer program that literally can make a decision and take actions on its own. So if you've got a repetitive task or something that, so something you will have all come across as like a chatbot. So a computer program that you've trained on certain bits of information, and it can see what's going on, think about it, and then do it, all without needing someone to guide it every step of the way. So even if you don't ask a question in exactly the way it's expecting, the agent is able to interpret that and come out with the right response. And there's so many applications for it. You'll have seen Nitsan's posted quite a lot on LinkedIn, and this session is going to be really cool. So
this
is
the first session. ChatGPT look really old school, because ChatGPT just answers your questions and does stuff. This actually does stuff even before you ask the question.
Yeah, I mean, some of the stuff that you're able to build, it's just mind-blowing, and it's stuff that we can all access as well. So it's not something, as I was saying, I've built AI agents, Tally's built AI agents, and we're really encouraged to play around with them. We'll even get you building one, Brian. But the other session is one that, yeah, of course you do. Another one that everyone can attend is going to be the at 1:45 in the afternoon is a featured session where Matt and Nitsan will be talking again with Morgan, but also with Pradeep from Capgemini. He's going to be joining the panel, and they're going to be talking about managing the chaos. So how mobility teams are looking into technology and data to handle that rapid change in immigration policy, and of course the role of technology in that. So it's going to be another super cool session. I wish I was there. I really hope everyone who attends gives us feedback on those sessions and has
sounds great. So if you're anywhere in the tri-state area and you want to go down to Jersey City for the GME executive meeting, then do make sure you sign up for it. We're now going to move on, because I'm so excited. We have backstage Laura Young from Salesforce, one of the genuine thought leaders in our industry. We're really excited to have her as our very special guest. So if you know how it works, I know I've said this before, I'll say it again. Hit the heart button, hit the like button, hit the applause button. Let's say a big thank you to Beth Nielsen, and welcome to our stage Laura Young from Salesforce. Laura.
Hey, Brian, how are you?
I'm just excited. It's so great to have you on the show. So we met. We had coffee a few weeks ago, I believe, in London. You and I, and we were talking about things. And some of the stuff that we were chewing on was just fantastic. And some of the thought leadership that comes out of you and your team at Salesforce. Just kudos to you guys. And we'll try and get into some of that today. But let's just start off. For what's it said, Jody said, hi, Laura, can't wait for the conversation today. Definitely a thought leader in this space. 100%, Jody. So, Laura, just for people who, I think probably most people know Salesforce, but just give us the flavor. Tell us a little bit about Salesforce and your role.
Sure. So I head the Global Mobility Immigration Program and team at Salesforce. And Salesforce is basically the #1 AI CRM. We have been transforming businesses for over 25 years. And what's super cool about our tool is that it provides the businesses, various businesses, different size, small to large, a 360-degree view of their customers' profile. So we call it Customer 360, and it allows businesses to connect with their customers in a smarter way because they're able to have this holistic view of their customers' data, service, marketing, the whole entire spectrum. Now, what's really cool now is our AI agent, #Agentforce, is that it's built on top of these platforms, which the information is already integrated, and Agentforce is going to really help deliver the day-to-day work and allow our sales representatives to do the great things. And I think it's really going to revolutionize the workforce. Hi, Veronica.
Yeah, actually, Veronica said there, let's just put that one back up there. Veronica said, we miss you in the Bay. So, and I said earlier that we had coffee together in London town not too long ago. So tell us a bit about yourself. So you're from the Bay, but you've put yourself on assignment. So tell us a bit about your intentional mobility.
Intentional mobility. That is really, yes, I wish I had done it soon, earlier, but I did propose an assignment. I've been leading the program and team for quite a few years now. Just to give you a little bit of background about my journey, if you don't mind, is sure. I actually started off in the immigration world, worked in various law firms. In fact, I also worked in Fragment for a short stint. And what really clicked for me was when I landed a role as an international students and scholars advisor at a university, medical university in San Francisco. And I really do feel for all the student advisors and all the foreign students in the US dealing with what's happening right now in the landscape. And that really clicked for me because it really allowed me to just use the experience that I've learned from the law firms and translate that into an in-house program from an HR lens. And that eventually led me to Salesforce about more than 11 years ago. And I really had crazy.
You are one of the best leaders. And Brandy's giving you a shout out too.
Yeah, that's so sweet.
Oh, the team is in town.
I know. I love the support. But yeah, so at Salesforce, I really had the privilege and opportunity to really build the immigration program from the ground up. But it really evolved over the years, and kudos to the team members, everyone who had contributed to the program and really pivoted the program.
I'm going to give them a shout out. Hang on. There's your team.
Yes, my team. I love my team. They feel my energy every day.
Best thought leaders, period, says Veronica. So there's the team. Right. Sorry.
Yes.
So let's go back to the plot, Laura. Amazing team. But so tell me, okay, I mean, your focus is on being strategic, and I sort of get that. Let me just ask you the question though, what does mobility strategy actually mean to you? I mean, how do you define success for your team, beyond the sort of day-to-day just doing stuff?
It's really moving a dial. Strategy is to be able to plan ahead, proactively analyze it, so we're not always reacting to what's coming down the pipeline on a day-to-day basis. So it's really important to carve out time, to give yourself the space to think about that, give yourself the opportunity to not just analyze your programs, understand the relevance of your programs, and ask yourselves critically, is this still relevant to your business goals, your organizational goals, and also to really keep in touch with the macro landscape. How is that translating from the top down, right? It's such a direct it can't be both direct and indirect impact on your programs on, based on what's happening in the macro environment. So it's all about that. And you can't really do that successfully if you're always inundated with the day-to-day. And that's the beauty of, I know we're going to talk a little bit about this, the AI. I think AI can really help in the mobility space, and really all the challenges that we have struggled over the years, even at present, AI can really mitigate, and hopefully not even hopefully, I know for sure that it'll close that gap and allow really leaders the space to really think about the business strategy and beyond.
Okay, we'll get into that. We're getting lots of comments coming in, lots of love being shown for you, which is wonderful, and I think speaks volume for your reputation in the industry, Laura. So kudos to you for that. But if you've got questions for Laura, then feed those into the comments as well, and we'll see if we can take some of those questions. There's one thing that I want to ask the audience, actually, which is this, is that how often in your life does things that are urgent interfere with things that are important? Because there's a difference, isn't there? Some things you've got to do because they're urgent, the firefighting, the challenges, the stuff that happens day to day, and then the other stuff that is strategically important. I don't know, deciding on a new policy or changing something major and the two interfere, and all too often in my experience the urgent gets in the way of the important. We actually asked this question on LinkedIn, and this is what we got. 78% of people, so what's that, nearly 80%, said that the urgent all too often gets in the way of the important. So the question I'd like to ask the audience is, what's it like for you? Do you find that the urgent stops you doing what is really important? And the question I've got for you, Laura, is, we all face that, or minimum 80% of the people there face it, and I'm sure actually, I don't know how the other 22 are managing it. But how do you try and put down or work around the urgent so you can actually not get distracted and focus on what is truly important?
Yes, and I would love to hear from the audience too, because I'm sure there are people out there, a lot of mobility leaders here who are able to do that very beautifully. But for me, I think my first question is being really critical about what constitutes urgency. Some of these urgent inquiries that we deal with could be a repetitive pattern, right? So we talked about that before earlier on with regards to really using technology and using technologies to really help you support some of those urgent inquiries. And this is why, again, carving out that space to analyze these sort of like urgent inquiries that's coming down the pipeline on a day-to-day basis is so important. You really, if it's so important to you, I think about this, and I'm going to give this one quick example here, is when it's really important, you're going to prioritize it. You're going to carve out time. So for me, it's sort of like working out. Like, I can't stand going to the gym, honestly. And, I don't really like working out, but it's really important for my health. So I make it a habit to build that into my routine, my weekly routine, and make sure that I get that done. I think the same thing with regards to the way we work. Like, if we want to evolve our programs and really change and move the dial, we have to carve out that time, pick a time that works best for you, right? For me, I think most clearly and most creative in the morning. And so I do that and I build that into my routine. And that way it gives me that breathing room to really just kind of think, put on my thinking hat, and then just analyze.
I think the morning's a great time. I'm like you, I'm a morning person. But also I find that if I don't do something the first thing in the morning, then all the urgent stuff starts hitting me.
Yeah.
And it gets harder and harder. And by the time I get to the end of the day, I realize not only have I dealt with the urgent stuff, not dealt with the important stuff, I've also probably not had any lunch either, because all the urgent stuff keeps coming in.
And you got to take care of yourself, because if you're going to continue to do that. And I think what's really like a little bit of a slippery slope is then we're down in the weeds and it's really hard to pull yourself up. And so that's another thing, is actively, intentionally, like removing yourself, like make that a habit to step back and give yourself a chance to look at your programs from an elevated view. So that's one thing. Another thing that I would say for me on a daily basis now, honestly, because I am very well aware that we're in the tech space and it's all about AI. But what we have been doing as a team too is really critically assessing our day-to-day work. Where are we spending our time on? do we really need to spend that much time? Okay, so it's like asking yourselves, why are we doing it this way? Why do I have so many meetings? Do I have to go to all of these meetings? Like little things like that. And then the next question is, can AI help me with this, right? Now you have AI that can summarize meetings when it's appropriate, right? Absolutely. And so I think we can really leverage technologies to give ourselves that space that we really need in the mobility space. It's going to change. Mobility is going to evolve with AI and technologies. And I'm really just, I'm a huge like cheerleader about like leaning into the space and then utilize it to maximize your value.
Yeah, I think you and I are 100% on the same page here. I mean, I've got certain tests that I use to say, are you doing something that can be replaced by AI? And the questions I would ask, and I'd ask the audience these, is do you spend time copying and pasting on spreadsheets from one spreadsheet to another? If you're doing that, you're doing something that can be replaced by AI. Do you spend time answering the same question from different people about whatever, your housing policy or shipping policy or whatever? If you're finding that you're answering the same question time and time again, you're doing something that can be automated by AI. I mean, there's loads of other examples. Mm-hmm. Drafting an email, and you're spending 20 minutes drafting a complex email, you're doing something that actually you should have dropped the email you're responding to into AI, got a draft out of it, and then edit it. You know, my theory of life is we should never be writing emails again. We should just be editing emails that technology has drafted for us. I mean, and there's hundreds of examples like that of things that I think we're all doing that actually we don't have to do. And the way I look at it, Tally's put here, my rule of thumb, anything you repeat, do more than twice, can be automated. You know, and people say, is AI going to take my job? Mm-hmm. And my answer to that is no, but someone who knows how to use AI might take your job. And you need to learn how to use AI, or else you've got a real problem. I think we're on the same page. So tell us a bit more about your vision for AI and how that can help make mobility more efficient and more effective.
Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, a lot of these challenges that we have been experiencing in the mobility world, it's still the same challenges that we're talking about today. When you go to conferences, we're talking about ROI, we're talking about data, we're talking about analysis, right? And it's already hard enough for us to really carve out time to think about that. And it actually takes a lot of work. I feel like we talked about how do we convince that our leaders that mobility as an investment, strategic investment instead of cost. The thing is I do feel like senior leaders in any organization do believe they want to leverage mobility as an investment and strategically, but it's activating that. And so with AI, I think this is where AI can really help with defining the ROIs for your individual business units, because those are going to vary depending on which organization that you're supporting. And data analysis, that's another thing. The other thing that I think AI would be super helpful to is really bridging the gap between service providers and in-house programs. You know, it's the shared knowledge, right? The more we're able to share knowledge and collaborate, the better off we are, because we're supporting the same clients, we're supporting the same stakeholders, we're supporting our employees. So I see the future of AI being able to not just support mobility leaders' day-to-day operation, but also just bridging the gap between all the service providers, our partners, really truly amplifying their true partnership in our ecosystem. And if I can just take a moment here, I wanted to give a shout out to a friend of mine who recently published an article on AI and using in mobility space, David Cozio, who just published.
I saw the article on LinkedIn.
Yes.
Great article. Shout out to David. Yeah.
Shout out to David. I think he really articulated very well. He gave some very tangible examples, and I think we need more of those examples to really help influence and encourage our colleagues that, hey, AI is not going to displace our work. It's literally going to empower us to design and evolve our roles to do the things that we really truly enjoy in this space. And that's all about strategy. That's all about designing. That's all about staying relevant, And now with this space, with this whole geopolitics, right? I know we're not going to go there today, but I really see that that's where the mobility roles in the future should really tap into, is understanding the macro environment and work your way down on how do you design the programs that just is, again, like relevant and sticks to your organizational goals. So check out David's article. I reposted it. So if you haven't seen it, post that. The one more thing that he did say is looking into things. I think he said new startup, like looking at it as if you're creating a new startup company. And that is the key too, is that beginner's mindset, right? That's where we can be most creative. If we go in with these hey, we've always done it this way, or this is what I know about mobility, there's some limitation there. So we got to really shift that mindset and look at things like a blank canvas with that beginner's mindset.
Absolutely. We've got a question here from Veronica. She says, we're all pressured to do more with less resources. How is AI helping you specifically?
Helping me specifically.
I've got some that I'll share, but you go for it first, Laura. How's it showing specifically?
Oh my gosh, Veronica, I have an AI colleague, various AI colleagues that I use every day. I'm still trying to figure out how to name, what's the name to use. And I use it every day, just basically everything that Brian had articulated earlier. I do that. The other thing that I find it very helpful is here at Salesforce, it's all about creating presentations in deck, right? And I think we take so much time. It's already a lot to just translate what's in your head. For me, there's it's just that organization itself, and being able to articulate that is another time suck. It's another process. And then being able to present that in a very consumable way on a slide is also another step. So I actually use AI a lot to really help me organize those thought patterns and really have a conversation. I literally would ask for feedback too. And then I would say, what if I want to weave in this, topic? What should that, how should that flow? So then I do use it that way. And one thing, and I joke around about this, but sometimes I'm it would be so cool if there's it's kind of scary, but a connector of AI. If you can just connect it to your head and spit out the information that I'm thinking, that would be golden. But but I do use it a lot. And I can't wait until AI can really start helping everyone to create slides, quite frankly. I think that's going to happen soon. I haven't.
A lot of it is out there. I'll give you a few examples. My colleague Nitam wanted to do a podcast on AI and how AI can help mobility. So he put some ideas down there, put it into, I'm not sure which program he used, but put it into the program. It produced a podcast with two people chatting about his ideas into a podcast. I mean, he didn't even have to do that. I mean, I'm going to maybe I shouldn't be sharing this publicly, but I use AI, Tally and I use AI on this show when we're doing our prep conversations. We've got an AI agent that does the transcript for us of the meeting, but more than that, it actually then produces a draft of the show description and even comes up with bullet points and questions that we might want to ask, and stuff that used to take hours to do each week is done within minutes. We use it, from a Benevo perspective with our technology. One of our lines is you shouldn't have to. It turns data into conversations. That if you want to have a report, so you've got your dashboard, and if you like the old-fashioned way, you had, I don't know if people have got that at the moment, they've got their mobility dashboard, and then if they want to report, they go back to whoever's technology it is, and and they get it personalized, and there's a charge for personalizing it and what have you. The way it is now with these AI dashboards that we've got at Benevo is you just ask it a question. So you say, whatever your question is, I want to know what percentage of my assignees whatever got their visa on the due date or went to Bolivia or whatever the question might be. And then you start the conversation. Then you go a level down and say, well, of those, can you split it demographically, or can you split it by gender, or can you split it by country of origin, or whatever? And you just carry on asking the question. So I suppose the theme I'm saying is, let's turn data into conversation. So you just chat with it. I mean, some of this stuff is so cool. I know. Yeah, so you go ahead.
I'm sorry, I just want to add to that too. And I think I could see, we talk about data storytelling, right?
Yeah.
That's also an area that AI can really help, identify patterns of your programs, identify different individual businesses, like how they use your program, and be able to use that and have that conversation with your business leaders strategically, and really define those ROIs. I think AI, there's a lot of possibilities there for sure.
Yeah. Oh, I just want to give a shout out. I think I saw Chris Klein commenting in the audience, and he's got a book out called, I believe it's called Unpacking Talent and Mobility, which he was kind enough to share an advanced copy with me with. It's a great read. Hopefully we'll get him on the show soon. And I just wanted to sort of shout out to Chris for actually getting a book out there, and again, showing some thought leadership. Oh. So let's move on. I mean, let's go back actually to what you were saying before, Laurie. You went, or you are in London, you moved from the Bay Area, came over. Let's talk about how you actually quantify and communicate. I mean, clearly the aim of your program is to add value to the organization. That's what being strategic is all about. So how did you do it? You must have created a business case for your own assignment. What did that process look like? And tell us about how you actually demonstrate the ROI of mobility in that very specific example.
Yes, of course. So transparently, the first time when I did suggest this, it was like not a yes. It was sort of like, we need all of our global leaders being the headquarters. That was the initial response, which I get. Most of us are based in San Francisco or like in the US. But what happened was I identify a problem area, and it's in region. I'm not going to go into specifics, but there is a problem area, and I was able to really get support from our vendors too, to really quantify the potential costs savings. And it's pretty phenomenal. And so if you were to think about the investment of this assignment cost, right, what we're saving once this assignment's completed and the scope is implemented successfully, that cost really outweighs. I'm not very good at math, but it really triples. And so I think that was a huge sell. The other thing, talking about being relevant and aligning with your business approach, is I actually used what we call it V2 Mom, which is like really helping all of us to really identify, think about the metrics that meet up our goals and methods. And so I used the same template, the same format to showcase what this means. What are the metrics? How am I going to deliver it? And what is that potential outcomes going to look like? And then throughout the assignment, it's really driving that assignment, forward too. And, it's just like reporting up. We're finalizing. This is actually a team effort. I want to call that out. So we're finalizing all of that for me to deliver up the report to our leaders, so they understand that, hey, indeed, this was worthwhile. On the other hand, too, at the same time, so when I went into this assignment, it's sort of like a bifurcated approach, right? I'm going through our own program from an employee experience, like from an employee lens. And that was also very critical from a program owner perspective. And so it was really immersing myself into that employee journey, which is so easy to say when we're designing programs where like, you get all of these services, but actually humanizing that was super critical for me. And so another ROI was the end-to-end process of this assignment, which my team is really helping me deliver to, is identify where do we use agent and where is that human touch come into play from an end-to-end process? Where do we add high-value impact work throughout this process? So that's what we're working on too, additional ROI to this assignment. And it's relevant. It's all about AI, that human AI sort of approach.
Absolutely. And these agents that are out there, again, Beneva does it as standard, but I'm sure other people do things too, is the agent should be trained on your own policy. So it's not just generic. So when you look at it, you say to the agent, whatever the question might be, what is our housing policy in Guatemala or whatever? You just ask it the question, or not just you, but the assignee can ask it the question, and it knows your policy. And the reality quite often is these things probably know your policy better than you do, because they will read everything that you can read, but they'll read it in 10 seconds and it will take you 2 hours to read through.
Yeah, we're finding those information that's already exists, or maybe things that you have thought about and that you have asked the AI about that, the agent about, previously. They're able to dig up that information and adjust it to your question. So
absolutely. Yeah. And the other thing that's cool about the AI, I know I've spoken about it before, is the sentiment analysis that it uses. So you can then sort of read the emails coming in, and in advance, it can actually tell you, well, there is an issue with this location or this service provider or this or that, because it's saying that the tone of the emails coming through on the particular subject are not good, or indeed conversely are excellent. So I mean, it's actually doing analysis stuff that we could only dream of with our relatively small brains compared to what the AI has. It is all mind-blowing stuff. But let me ask you, I want to move the conversation on, Laura. I mean, we call it talent mobility.
Yeah.
Why is mobility seen as, or why should mobility be seen as an investment, not just as a operational function?
Well, I think, my assignment, I think usually there's that sticker shock, right? If you really want to persuade and influence your stakeholders to really utilize your programs thoughtfully, you got to sell it. It's all about how do we sell it to make it stick? So it's kind of like any investment. Like right now, an example that I thought of earlier today, and it was a conversation that I had with a friend of mine previously. And she basically was telling me about, so I know this is kind of silly, but it's about buying a Chanel bag. I'm not really into designer bags or anything. It's what am I going to get out of it? And so if I'm going to spend all that money, what am I going to get out of that bag? It's just a bag. And my friend was just like, you know what, this bag appreciates. And she gave me some examples of this investment that she made. It made her happy, first of all. It's she uses it every day. And at the same time, it appreciated. So it's sort of really helping reframe that story. It's not just about the spend. Let's focus on earning. What are you getting back? And so if we want to really continue use mobility strategically, we have to show that investment. We have to spend the time to do that. Now with AI, you've said that earlier, a lot of the step-by-step that we have been very accustomed to executing and working in the mobility space, that will eventually, it could be done with technology. So this is one of the reasons we want to stay in this industry. That is where we need to really tighten up that narrative of making sure that mobility is not just seen as an investment, but it's actually being used, and there's that output that we can show and demonstrate.
Yeah. So, one of the things that you do, you've got a large program. I mean, I know it's sort of comparable for a company of your size, but you move a lot of people each year. We're not going to share confidential numbers, but I know you move a lot of people, and you've got a relatively lean team to do it. I mean, you run the program very efficiently, and I think people recognize that in the industry, is that you run the team. How do you pull the team together? Make sure that they are as efficient and as effective as possible? What's the secret sauce to making a really great mobility team?
Well, I'm very lucky that I just inherited a really great team. We didn't talk about that earlier when I inherited, I was asked to take on mobility. It was a little bit, I wasn't sure if that was the right move for me. I was quite apprehensive about it because it's such a huge space. Hi, Lynn. It's such a huge space. But I knew the people that are already on the team. I have brilliant mobility experts there already. So I leaned in, and I'm so glad that I made that decision. But what really worked out for us is that we just have really talented team members. And for me, it's always sharing ideas with each other, integrating. We actually did this business chemistry test a while back, which really helps us identify how we think. And everyone has their different strengths, and you need everyone, right? For me, I think I was very much like a red, which is just idea person. But my ideas are not going to go anywhere unless I have someone who's very detailed, methodical, and really be able to deliver it, right? And then we also found out from that exercise is all of us are integrators, which really makes sense because we're in the mobility world and it's all about integration. And so out of that, we started working on these different projects. And I think those projects really helped me actually help the team unveil a lot of their talents outside of their mobility immigration space. These are not just folks who are really well-versed or knowledgeable in mobility or immigration. There are other skill sets too, like there are a few team members are so tech savvy and they're so into, so I basically would just, help shift those talents around and give them the opportunity to really work on something that they're really passionate about, but at the same time, leverage their talent to really elevate our programs and kind of move the dial that way.
And I think you said to me that you, when we were chatting earlier, you said something about the fact that, they're all in the same boat and that you try and, get across the idea that they're all sort of rowing in the same direction.
Yes. I use that analogy a lot with my team. I actually use a lot of analogies. One is like being a conductor, but in any case, the boat thing really, it's been sticking and it comes up a lot. So it's really like, just imagine we're all in that same boat and we got to row in the same direction. We got to know where that direction is going. And so if anyone kind of hops off that boat and be on their own little lifeboat, we're not going to be able to be as unified and cohesive in delivering our goals. And so that is something that comes up all the time whenever, things happen, competing priorities. And so that's just a reminder like, hey, let's get back in the same boat. It works.
I know, it's so obvious, isn't it? But it's so important that everybody is in the same boat. They've got to get each other's backs. They've got to be working as a team. They've got to be making the boat go faster, smoother, and not sort of rowing against them. I tell you, I actually I was talking once to, I won't mention the company's name. I was talking to a guy and he used the same analogy, but he said quite the opposite. He said, we're not a big boat. He said, we're a flotilla of small boats. And he said, and what's worse is some of them are captained by pirates. So that was exactly the opposite. But, I'm so pleased that, the Salesforce model is you're all in the same boat. You're all rowing the same direction. And it's, it's just seeing those pictures up there. I'll put that one up there. We've got another picture of your team again. They're out doing some community work that you're doing, and you're out of the again doing community work. You can just see from that you've got a really sort of good team there pulling together, which is great. So Laura, we're pretty much out of time. We've only got a minute left, but I'll just give you for that last minute. Just tell us, what do you think is going to happen next?
What am I going to think happen?
Next, with the way the team is going and the way the technology is going, what's your sort of vision of where we go next? And I'm looking for the 60-second version here.
So when I think about our strategic framework, which is this 3 pillars, right? You got your program delivery, our business engagement, and architecture. The team, right now, I would say 50%, we're still doing a lot of the program delivery work. And I see us shifting over to predominantly the business strategy and really focusing on true COE, architect and everything, and really delivery. Hopefully, most of that will be leveraged, would be used and executed by AI and technologies. I really feel like that's going to be next. And my team is already moving toward that direction already. So I'm really excited about what's next to come. And I would just say, I know we have one more minute, and I was just thinking about your question earlier with regards to investment too, why that is so important. Because if you think about this, mobility in every organization, we're very niche, and sometimes it's such a small little dot in a big map. And this is why when you talk about investment, you get the attention. Otherwise, if you don't keep that visibility and really influence your leaders to understand it as an investment and really demonstrating that it is truly an investment, well, you might get lost in that map. And that's not a lot of fun when you're not being seen. So that's another reason why it's super important that we're being seen in that as strategic thinkers.
Absolutely. I'm going to bring on our other guests now as we get towards the end. We've got Rahul, we've got VJ, we've got Beth, and of course we've got our amazing producer, Tally. So that brings us to the end of the show. Laura, it's been a fascinating conversation, absolutely fascinating.
There were lots of questions about AI, and that's kind of a promo to one of our coming shows. So we're going to focus on AI, and actually we're thinking of maybe adding a segment to this show where we're going to talk about AI and everything that global mobility can do with AI, because we definitely have a lot to share about it, as Beth hinted.
Absolutely. So if you out in the audience want to learn more about AI, we're going to be covering AI a lot going forward. We've already done quite a bit. We're going to be doing more and more. So Laura, many, many thanks to you. VJ, thank you so much for being our change maker. Thank you for helping us to support Talent Beyond Boundaries. Thank you for your the 3 C's analogy with the change makers, and indeed we'll get you back to talk more about program optimization. Rahul, welcome to the show. Thank you for being on the show. Really insightful, everything you were talking about in terms of US inbound immigration. Beth, as ever, thank you for your update. And the biggest thank of the lot, well, Tally, of course, is my big thanks, but the biggest thank of the lot is to you, the audience. Thank you for being here. You make it all worthwhile for us. We hope you've enjoyed the show. We are back next week with a really big show when we're going to be talking about the Worldwide ERC Mentorship Program, Mentorship That Matters. And we've got David Toledo and Jennifer Rodriguez and maybe others as well on the show telling us all about mentorship in our industry. So everybody have a great week. We're back next week. So take care and have a good week. Bye, everybody.
Bye.